Good afternoon, and we begin with the white-hot real estate market in the Lower Mainland. And it's either good news or perhaps bad news, depending on whether you're buying or selling. We all know that house prices have been going nowhere but up, but new statistics show just how high they've gone. Canada Mortgage and Housing now saying the average price of a house in the Lower Mainland no less than $705,000. Now that is up 29% in the past year alone and 80% in the past 4 years. The jaw-dropping fact is that if this trend were to repeat itself over the next 4 years, the average price of a house in 2010 would be $1.2 million. So where will it end?
I think that our market today is backed by some pretty strong economic fundamentals, particularly around job growth, rising wages, which is helping to offset some of that increase in housing costs. Albeit, though, when we look going forward this year, we're going to experience some moderate increases in mortgage rates, and prices are still going to climb probably 2 or 3 times the rate of inflation. And as a result, by the time we get to the end of the year, we're going to see demand start to wane slightly because many of those people at the margins trying to get into the market are going to find they can no longer afford it.
So can this market keep rocketing upward? Real estate analyst Ozzie Jurock has some thoughts on that. Ozzie, what goes up must come down sooner or later, right?
Eventually. But you know, when you think about it, in 1978 I bought a house for $13,500. And today it's $700,000. If somebody had told me in 1978 that was going to happen, I would have had them committed, right? But we didn't get there in a straight line. We had actually 4 major reversals during that 35-year period, but generally about 3 years in duration with about a 17% price reduction, with the exception of the 1980-81 period. So it's not like the stock market where we have this huge loss immediately, like in 1 week, 50%. So we have reversals. But the thing that happened in real estate for 35 years, we went up, and then we reversed, usually sharper than people thought, and then we went up again. So 10 years from now, I see much higher values ahead.
Okay, but in between, you're looking at a bit of a correction, right?
Absolutely. In fact, Polly would be healthy. I mean, $700,000 for the average price now. It comes close to the affordability crossover, which we really only got to because of very cheap mortgages that we give to anybody. I mean, we have bankrupt mortgages, stated income mortgages. In other words, you don't have to show your teeth for. We have so many fad products out there, and that's usually a warning sign.
Well, what you're saying then is that banks are probably willing to give us more than we can really afford to buy houses that we can't really afford right now.
Whether we deserve it or not, yes. And I think part of it is this most unreported and underreported inflation of all times we're living in. We have the largest asset inflation ever. It isn't just house prices in Vancouver, it's house prices worldwide, it's gold, silver, and all the other things as well.
Right. So very briefly, Ozzie, is this a good time to buy?
If you buy as an investor, make sure it cash flows, and that doesn't mean you buy downtown. If you buy for yourself, make sure you want to stay there for a while. And if you get a mortgage, go long. Okay.
Thank you, Ozzie. On Vancouver Island, the average price of a house has risen to $487,000, and while that might sound like a bargain to some, realtors are predicting that prices on the island will probably continue to climb.
Is slapping on a new coat of paint. He's about to put his home of 25 years on the market.
My parents bought this place 30 years ago for $40,000. I bought it off of them 20 years ago for $70,000. So to find out now that it's potentially, you know, in the $390,000 range is you know, a bit of a shock.
And around Vancouver Island, sticker shock is pretty common among buyers these days.
It's unbelievable. We've almost lost perspective on what value is.
It's not hard to lose perspective when the average price of a single-family home is expected to top $1 million in Vancouver in the next 10 years.
Well, apparently we're not far behind Vancouver. So we're seeing, in subdivisions, we're seeing houses that are valued at $1 million, and it's not uncommon now.
House prices have risen by 60% in Victoria and Vancouver in the past 4 years alone. In 2002, a single-family home in Victoria would have cost you $280,000. In Vancouver, $394,000. Now prices have skyrocketed to a whopping $487,000 in Victoria and $680,000 in Vancouver.
Well, we will see markets trending up this year. Prices will top $500,000 this year and go up to about $525,000 for 2007.
Low interest rates and a high number of retirees coming to Victoria play a big role in the escalating prices. But if you think buying in Nanaimo is more affordable, think again.
If the average price in Vancouver is $1 million, you're probably looking at, $600,000 or $700,000 average price in Nanaimo. Now, that seems like a lot of money, but it wasn't that long ago that $250,000 seemed like a lot of money.
And it's not just Nanaimo. Prices have jumped between 16 and 27% in smaller communities around the island over last year. So if you're thinking about buying a home, advice from the experts: don't sit by and wait for the paint to dry.